Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you to this extraordinary council meeting of Tuesday, the 3rd of June 2025 at the Euroa Conference Centre. I am Claire Hewitt-Kennedy, Mayor of Strathbogie Shire Council, and I will be chairing today's meeting. Before we proceed, I'd call on Councillor Jeffrey, who will reinforce our council vision and values.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor's vision. We will be a council group that delivers valuable outcomes for our community through teamwork characterised by respectful debate, collaboration and the commitment to being inclusive and transparent. Our council values are respect, integrity, accountability, transparency and responsiveness. Thank you,
Deputy Mayor Jeffrey. Acknowledgement of the traditional owners. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the places we live, work and play. We recognise and respect the enduring relationship they have with their lands and waters, and we pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Privacy notice. The public meeting is being streamed live via our website, Council Meetings and Minutes, Strathbogie Shire, and made available for public access on our website, along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information to any person who accesses those recordings or minutes. 4. Governance principles. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in section 9-2 of the Local Government Act 2020. These principles are numbered 1 to 9 on page 4 and 5 of the agenda. Voting. If a meeting is open to members of the public or is being live streamed, voting on any matter may be by any method resolved by council that enables those in attendance and those watching a live stream broadcast to clearly see which way a council has voted at the time a vote is taken. In the absence of the council resolving an alternative method, voting on any matter is by a show of hands. An outline of how the meeting will work. We welcome the people in our public gallery and also those viewing this meeting through our live stream via our website. The meeting is held in accordance with Strathbogie Shire's governance rules. If we have technical difficulties during today's meeting, which means we're unable to stream the proceedings to the public, we will continue with the meeting given the public gallery is open. If a councillor or officer has a conflict of interest in a matter, they will be asked to leave the meeting and no discussion on the matter will commence until we're sure they've done so. The person will then be contacted to rejoin the meeting after the matter has been considered and the vote concluded. The public gallery is reminded that as this is a public meeting, we respectfully ask that all attendees remain quiet and courteous during the meeting. Point 5, apologies, leave of absence. Are there any apologies or leaves of absence for today's meetings? Note that Councillor Stevens is an apology. Any others? No. Disclosure of conflicts of interest. Point 6. Councillors, I will take all papers as being read. That being the case, are there any disclosures of conflicts of interest? Thank you. The purpose of today's meeting is to hear the formal submissions received from the community relating to the draft integrated plans. In accordance with section 55 of the Local Government Act 2020 and Council's engagement policy, deliberative engagement was undertaken and submissions closed on the 22nd of May 2025. Following the close of the submissions, a total of 9 submissions were received. Council will hear from 2 residents today who will speak for their submission. Unfortunately, a 3rd submitter who had requested to be heard is unable to join us today due to ill health. Thank you to Robin Wetherold and Helen Gwillam, also representing Avenel Active, who have requested to be heard today. Each submitter will be invited to address council and will provide up to 5 minutes to speak to their submission. I also kindly remind you that you address only the contents and topics that are contained within your submission. I would like to invite Mr. Robin Wetherold to make his submission.
Thank you. Councillors, congratulations in order that the mail out that you sent out regarding the 3rd bin was well done. I believe well received, and the public are taking the challenge of learning what a new fourth bin is all about. It's taken something like 15 years for us to get from the foundation stages when we started this particular project. In waste, there are three basic rules. One, every rate notice holder generates some degree of waste. And there is a cost of every rate notice generated from their activities. Two, the collection service for all residential zone properties is deemed compulsory. So they are required to handle the 4-bin contract as a compulsory part of their service. For the rural community, the collection service is on a voluntary basis, and property owners are not compelled to participate in the process. But as you have seen, there is an awfully high degree of community acceptance and usage of the waste collection service. I've got a fairly long background in local government, specialising in waste. I served 2 terms as a regional director of the ministerial appointment to a regional waste management committee, and served 2+ terms. I've attended hundreds of lectures on waste and training hours. I've visited almost every waste facility in the state and had to study and work in those particular projects and learn all about them. In our current system in Strathbogie, we have an awfully high acceptance rate. The community are quite pleased with our waste management services, getting something like 70% acceptances. And that is a reflection on the way it has been managed in the Shire, where we have not forced nor compelled, but we've used common sense to encourage people to be a part of the recycling processes. There are 2 glitches in the system, as I understand it. The 4-bin service is, or the new 4-bin service is a fact, but unfortunately, not all of our users accept it and have even taken delivery of the 4 bins. Council should deliver the 4 bins to everybody who is involved. Whether the people use the bin or not is totally up to them. But if you look and watch what your neighbours do, you'll soon learn that the use of the bins is environmentally friendly and is an environmentally sustainable way to manage our environment. The other thing is that our rate notice does not quite bear full costs and the shares. There are a component of rural people who do not participate in the bin service. Maybe it's no road service and other issues, but they don't participate, but they do generate waste and should be contributing a fee towards the cost of recycling depots, waste depots, which we have scattered throughout the whole of the Shire. And there's something like about 5 or 6 of those, and they don't come cheaply. They have to be manned sometimes 7 days a week. So every rate notice should bear some user cost. The bin service is basically something like a $650 per annum fee, and that is up to the user whether they use it fully or not. But the education service, if it's going out and you produce high quality material, because waste is a situation that never changes. I've got it really at a time. There's an issue about food waste, and there was a project which I was involved in 2014, which was designed to intercept large volumes of commercial food waste from properties such as McDonald's, the IGA, and the 7 Hotel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bell.
Okay. We've run that too well to top it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question. I don't know what the process is.
Questions of clarification. We've got a question of clarification, if that's okay, from councillor Halsall.
Thanks for your submission. I've got a question for you. Just regarding your comments about rural ratepayers not having a waste contribution on their rate notice, but would they not be contributing to the recycling costs when they take their recycling or that's a free service and therefore they don't participate at all? Is that the point you make?
The point is that waste is a very expensive project, and it's important that there are about 10 or 15% probably of our ratepayer pool that don't make any contributions to waste collection services whatsoever. Yes, when they use the depots, if they're using hard waste, they're going to have to put it in. But council are aware and have to face up to the $170 new tax per cubic metre of waste, and it's a frightening subject when, for example, a person like myself, I produce probably nearly $2,000 worth of cost to council in my rate notice, which I only pay $600 for, because each week I have two large bins, red bins, $170 a cubic metre. I'm generating a huge amount of cost to the pool. Yes.
Councillor Holloway, you have a question of clarification?
I do, yes. I think I have this correct. You're calling on all rate notices, if they are rural, to have a waste fee attached to them. Is that correct?
That I would think would be fair, because every property generates a contribution of waste.
Well, my question of clarification is, what about rural properties that don't have a residence on them and are grazing only, that do not generate waste? Are you calling for them to have a waste management fee as well?
Yes, because it's fair that and equitable that all share the cost. They should be using their land. Waste is almost generated in every property, maybe very small, but there is some waste contribution.
Okay, thank you. Your submission. I'd now like to call on Avenel Active, and Helen Willem, I think, is representing Avenel Active to present their submission. Thanks.
You go for it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm Helen William. I'm here with committee members Julie Dobby and Sue Schultz. I'll start with our general concern. The draft council plan appears to present only Shire-wide strategies, core council responsibilities as initiatives for the next 4 years. This is quite different to the mix of strategy and place-based commitments we saw in the current plan. For example, the plan presents governing responsibility as an initiative. We'd suggest it's not, it's a statutory requirement. We think the approach is even less defensible in the annual action plan. The annual budget has been prepared, council knows where expenditure will land, but the only place-based activity named in the annual plan is for Ngambie flood controls. The lack of transparency about where funds will be spent makes it more difficult for communities to hold council accountable. Local government, as the level of government closest to communities and residents, should be able to see more easily project commitments in their area. We think council needs to present a place-based analysis of projects and budget allocation in council. To a few of our own place-based concerns, through 2023 and 24, we worked with council to facilitate a community consultation for long overdue update of the Avenel 2030 strategy, released 17 years ago in 2008. Consultation confirmed residents' ongoing concern about how Avenel will maintain its village character and the need for infrastructure improvements for safe and sustainable growth of the town. We can see Council has heard the message on the infrastructure deficit, but there is also a major strategic planning deficit, and the two are linked. Avenel has been identified for moderate residential growth. Increasing housing around a town bisected by a rail line, with no meaningful town centre zoning, inadequate or non-existent development overlays, ineffective neighbourhood character guidelines, and not even safe footpaths connecting one side of the town with the other, shows failure to maintain strategic planning. There's been no progress on the township strategy since March last year because the rural, res and urban growth strategies now have higher priority. A couple of lines in the urban growth strategy isn't going to do the work needed to update zones and overlays or to describe and protect neighbourhood character. Particularly when the council plan commits fairly vaguely to implement an unspecified the rural, res and urban growth strategies, and the annual plan commits to only commence but not complete one priority action from each strategy. At that rate, we'll be at 2035 before anyone touches the township strategies. The lack of commitment to strategic planning is a recipe for ad hoc statutory planning approvals continuing the development of our towns. The council plan should commit to finalise and implement the township strategy and should include more ambitious performance measures to modernise strategic planning in the Shire. Avenel residents have long advocated pedestrian, parking and road safety improvements around Avenel railway station. Community concerns have also intensified after the recent accident at the station crossing. While Avenel Active understands council has joined the member for Euroa to seek precinct improvements from state government, we don't know the detail or progress of this. The community needs to know that change is going to happen and soon. It's not enough for this project to appear in council's advocacy plan at some later date. Council needs to commit to advocate for improved safety around Avenel railway station and along the rail line through the township. Council is proposing a health, wellbeing and disability plan. Heat is the most frequent cause of extreme weather-related illness and death in Australia, and heatwave frequency is increasing. At-risk groups include children, the elderly, people with disabilities, and residents of older housing. Power outages, lack of air-conditioned retail centres, and limited public transport, and the risk is magnified in Strathbogie. Council's current heatwave plan commits to little more than promoting heat health messages. Heatwave response appears to be largely delegated to volunteers. Many councils are taking far more effective action to protect community health during heatwave. An effective health, wellbeing and disability plan must include review of council's heatwave. Avenel Swimming Pool is a critical community asset for health and wellbeing, for learning swim programs, and is also a heat refuge. It is disappointing to us that the draft budget for community pools shows an increase in operating budget barely in the inflation, given the need for improved service levels we have identified in our submission. Finally, the budget includes funds for Avenel drainage works. The budget includes funds for Avenel drainage works. We hope this is for much needed to remediate stormwater management in our estate. If so, we thank council for scheduling the works and we look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Helen. Thank you, Avenel Active, for their submission. Other business. The next meeting of Strathbogie Shire Council is scheduled to be held on the 17th of June at the Euroa Community Conference Centre commencing at 4 p.m. All submissions will be presented to the council meeting on that day, where council will formally consider the submissions and adoption of the key strategic plans. There being no further business, the meeting closed at 4:18 actually, 4:18 p.m. Thank you very much.